is that we're not just getting responses
Sorry guys, I haven't been uploading for the past 2 days. Um, Yesterday I was no, the day before yesterday I was working on the the path operations that I was writing for that library management project, which I have completed. What I have to do now is authentication, right? And before that, today I wanted to digress and kind of explore this thing called agentic AI, right? Because first off, I thought I don't really need any background for it, and it's just a video that I've been wanting to watch, wanting to learn, write agents from basic Python code. So I'll do that. I'll try to learn how to write agents in this live, and share my thoughts, share my learnings, hopefully. Hmm. All right. First off, let's see if I can hear myself. Hello, I do.
directly from the training data. We're giving it the ability to do tool calls. So, for example, if I ask, "Hey Boots, how do quests on boot.dev work?" So, as you can see, we still get text back as the response, right? Still a chatbot. But if we scroll all the way up to the top, there's these two special
With that little test, let's not interrupt the live. Concurrent viewers 1. Wow, who is that, bro? I guess that was myself. Clip of just to hold the mic. I don't know where I've kept it. I guess I have to hold it right like this. It's like I'm talking to my girlfriend secretly or something like that. Hello. No problem. No problem. Good.
messages at the top, right? Allow me to consult the game master's tome of knowledge. So this is the difference. Cloud Sonnet 4 doesn't know about up-to-date boot.dev game mechanics, right? So what we've built is specific tools, which are basically just functions in our backend that Boots can call when a user asks a certain type of question, right? So Boots system prompt says, "Hey, if the student asks about gamification, before you respond, call a function that gives you all of the documentation about our game mechanics. And then read that documentation, right? Read that documentation. This is what's printed to the user when he actually does that, and then respond." This is the kind of stuff that you can do with an agentic model. Okay, down to the assignment. So to get started, make sure that you can that gives you gamification question, right? So Boot's system prompt says, "Hey, if the student asks about gamification, before you respond, call a function that gives you all of the documentation about our game mechanics. And then read that documentation, right? Read that documentation. This is what's printed to the user when he actually does that, and then respond. This is the kind of stuff that you can do with an agentic model. Okay, down to the assignment. So to get started, make sure you have Python and the boot dev CLI installed and working. Again, if you're following along, which I hope you are, you can go ahead and click this link for the instructions to install the boot dev CLI. I already have it installed, so we should be good to go. So to pass off a lesson on boot dev, we just go over to the checks tab, copy this guy right here, run it. And if that works, which I think all it's doing is checking to ensure that I have the boot dev CLI and Python installed, which I do, then we can just do it with a -s flag, and we pass. On to the next lesson. Okay, Python setup. Again, I'm gonna kind of breeze through this because this is all like documented. It's kind of boring stuff. Hopefully you already have Python set up with UV. But very first thing we're gonna do is UV venv. Okay, let's talk about Gemini.
Jarvis, rack pipeline status report.
Chunking complete. Retrieval and re-ranking.
So Gemini is a large language model. If you're not familiar with that acronym, it feels like these days, large language model is almost synonymous with AI. You know, you go back 10 years and there's kind of lots of different stuff happening in AI, or I should say, lots of different approaches to AI being developed. Large language models are like the hot thing over the last, basically ever since 2022 when GPT-4 came out. They're what powers things like ChatGPT and Claude. So they're these massive, massive models where you give them text and they give you text back as output, where it's predictive of like, this is what,
It's kind of funny that we got to see AI before going into Mars, right? Before getting into Mars. I thought that would be kind of happening way more before than like artificial intelligence or whatever this is.
a human would respond with. And that's kind of the whole magic behind LLMs is you give it text and it predicts the next bit of text that would come out. And it's just kind of crazy the amount of things that you can build with just that simple idea, assuming that the text you get back is like, what a knowledgeable human would have given back. So yeah, products like ChatGPT, Claude, Cursor, Gemini, they're all powered by LLMs. Our agent going to be powered by Gemini, partly because Gemini is free. And it's a really great model and we can get pretty far on the free tier. One more thing that's important to understand is tokens. So when you're working with AI APIs, they are almost always built on token usage. Okay. So what's a token, right? You might think, oh, a token's basically like a character or a token's basically a word. And that's not quite true. The way tokens work with most of these providers is that they're roughly 4 characters. So if you just like count up all the characters in your prompt and like divide by 4, you'll be pretty close to how many tokens you're going to use. So the way I would phrase it is it's almost a word. But again, do not worry. We are going to be well within the free tier limits of Gemini during this project. Okay, create an account on Google AI Studio if you don't already have one. Then click the Create API Key button. Here are the docs if you get lost. So let's go ahead.
Started. Yeah. Ideas, describe an app, or let Gemini do the rest. Nope. I guess get an API key, projects, rate limits, spend, set up billing, API keys. Let's go to that. API quick start. What is it? Gemini API quick start. The quick start shows how you install our libraries and make your first request stream responses, build multi-turn conversations and use. Install all of this. Let's see if he's gonna tell us.
And just run through that really quick. So Google AI Studio, make this a little bit bigger. Let's go find, let's see, what's it say? Get API key. Right now, I already have an API key. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new one.
create a new API key.
Now, this part here, I hesitate to even show you. It's not going to let me make an API key without putting it inside of a Google Cloud project. If you don't have a Google Cloud account associated with your kind of Google user, you should be able to just make an API key. It's actually a simpler process. But because I have projects linked to my account, it's going to make me kind of put it inside of a project. So
all right, I don't think I have a Google Cloud account. What should I name my API key? Let's just keep it like that, bro. Create key, default Gemini project, choose an import project. All right, create key. Create a new key. It's loading. Loading, guys. It's loading. All right, we got our key. Project name, project number. Let's just copy our key. Free tier, setup billing. And also, I have this doubt, Gemini. Hey, I have this student plan of Gemini now with all the perks. So can I get free API keys better than the free tier ones? It's a complicated what do you say, prompt. Yeah, I get why you would hope for that, having all those cool premium features, but there is no you're okay, fuck off. All right.
I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, here's the key. Don't try to use my key. I'm going to deactivate it before I upload this video. But go ahead and copy the key. And for now, I'm just going to, well, actually, I think we probably say what to do in the instructions. Paste it into a new .env file, right? So
File, by the way. Pause. I don't want you motherfuckers to use my API key. Oh god, I should be forgetting that, bro. Sorry. See, alright. .env. Sit right here. See.
.env, and we're going to do Gemini API key equals, and then just paste in your API key. Cool, and then add the .env to your git ignore. So we can do that, .env. Remember, you never want to commit API keys, passwords, or other sensitive information to that, .env. Remember,
Git ignore, right? Where is my git ignore? There it is. Yeah, .vend and also see this gets added. Did I add it correctly?
remember, you never want to commit API keys, passwords, or other sensitive information to Git. And then just Gemini API key equals, and then just paste in your API key. Cool, and then add the .env to your git ignore. So we can do that, .env. Remember, you never want to commit API keys, passwords, or other sensitive information to Git. So basically, anytime you're working with an API key, it should be in a file that is Git ignored. General rule. Okay, update main.py. So instead of using just the template kind of boilerplate that UV gave us, we're just going to override it with this. And then, so we did that. Import the GenAI library and use the API key to create a new instance of the Gemini client. Okay, so I'm actually going to type this out from Google import UI. So instead of using just the template kind of boilerplate that UV gave us, we're just going to override it with this. And then, so we did that. Import the GenAI library and use the API key to create a new instance of the Gemini client. Okay.
pop-up.
So I'm actually going to type this out from kind of boilerplate that UV gave us. We're just going to override it with this.
So this is our thing. The boilerplate, this thing is the boilerplate code is import OS. I guess what this usually does is importing OS does is it gives you access to files in the files in your computer, right? In your directory dot env from import load underscore dot env. So this is basically like this, right? Used also in APIs. This is actually used in APIs, right? If you guys remember, like when we stored that database URL, so we had to use it in databases.py. Yeah, that's right, that's correct. And we load underscore dot n, we call that, and API key. What did I name it, by the way? Okay, API underscore key is gem. Okay, os dot environ dot get. What did I name it? What did I name it? This gem API key, I guess.
And then, so we did that. Import the GenAI library and use the API key to create a new instance of the Gemini client. Okay, so
import the GenAI library and use the API key to create a new instance of a Gemini client. All right, we can do that too.
So I'm actually going to type this out from Google import Gemini, and then we're going to create a new client. Okay, use the client.models.generate content function or method to get a response. Okay.
All right. How do I show this to you guys? Let me just dictate it for you guys, right? What? Yeah. Let me just dictate this for you guys. So the seventh step is use the clients.models.generate content method to get a response from the Gemini Flash model. You'll need to use two name parameters, models and content. All right. Let me just flash this for you guys. There is VS, yeah, there it is. So yeah. So this is saying use the client dot dot models dot generate for content method to get a response from Gemini Flash model. You will need to use two named parameters. All right, model. So one is model, right? Model name, model is, let's see.
Okay, so now we're just going to actually use the API key. In fact, before we do that, I just want to make sure things are working. I want to do this step at a time. So let's print API key. Okay, let's do uv run main.py. Okay, cool. So I'm at least reading in my API key from my .env file correctly. So we know that's working. Great. Now I'm going to go on to the next spot, or the next part. Import the AI SDK, create a client using my API key, and now I'm going to use this function. So let's go over to those docs. SDK. Before we do that, I just want to make sure things are working. I want to do this step at a time. So let's print API key. Okay, let's do uv run main.py. Okay, cool. So I'm at least reading in my API key from my .env file correctly. So
I did that wrong. No. No, what do you think? .env. .env. Import from .env for thing. By the way, I've just downloaded UV, right? I don't know if I have it in my live or not, but I've just downloaded UV as this guy said it is better to download UV. I don't know what's happening. Mm, just it. ChatGPT is trying to save me from this. Let's see. Ah, great. UV is installed and working. All right. Bro, what the hell? Oh, well. I want UV, not PIP. Let's go to this is what I got. But now I can comfortably Python agent.py. Gogo. Gogo is not present. From Google. Google is in there. Alright. UV add Google Gen AI. Just did. Oh my god. Let's run it again, right? Python. Still the same error. No idea why. Oh, is it Gen AI? Did I get confused with Gen AI?
We know that's working. SDK.
Oh, it is Gen AI. The hell? Gen AI. My bad, my bad. Right.
Create a client using my API key. And now I'm going to use this function. So let's go over to those docs.
Let's fucking delete all of this. Start new. I'll wait for the when to there we go. Let's see now. All right, we are getting the API key.
All right, this is the syntax. So we have our client. Our client has access to our API key, and we're going to call the models.generateContent function. So we're specifying Gemini Flash, right? So this is the free tier model, and we're asking why is the sky blue? Actually, sorry, it's going to tell us we're going to swap out the prompt. So we're asking why is boot dev such a great place? All right. The generate content method returns a generate content response object. Very cool. Print the .txt property of the response to the model's answer. So print response.text.
AI is advancing, and the next big wave is agentic AI.
Authentic? Fuck off. It's like this guys actually know what I'm trying to do right now. Oh, can you guys even hear me yapping? I don't think so. All right. So where was I?
All right. So if we've done everything correctly, now we can run our program and actually see the answer to this question. Now, remember, this is actually a network call, so we're not working with a local model anymore. We're actually like calling out to Google's servers, right? Boot dev stands out as a great place to learn backend.
All right, model okay, content.
And relevant. Now, remember, this is actually a net.
All right, let's do this. This seems very simple, to be honest. I mean, I actually knew that API keys weren't really that difficult. Okay, let's also start our client. Client is equal to GenAI. Client is GenAI dot client API key is API key. All right. Client is GenAI dot what is that? Clients no GenAI dot client. Bro, why am I not getting sort of CLINT client? API key. So API underscore key is API key. Right. Did I do it correctly? Let's see. API underscore key is API underscore key. Client is GenAI dot client. Now if I run this, and also let's try to print the type of client object. What is this? I mean, always it's nice to kind of print down what's happening. All right, it is still giving me the same cannot import GenAI from Google thing. All right, to be honest, I don't really know why. Let's see why. So you need to do this. Let's try to do this. Right. Okay, I don't think you can do it in my. Why do I have to do it from the terminal itself? I have no idea. I'm actually pretty dumb. Resolve 27 packages in 1 millisecond and all of that. All right, let's just run this again. All right, google.genia.client.client. So this is a client object from, I guess it's a Google object. I guess. I mean, Google has made this client object. All right, makes sense. Now what I'm gonna do is the response is equal to what is that? Client dot content. What was that?
Network call, so we're not running.
I guess I have to shift it to that place, bro. I have to play this game for a while, or else I won't really make space for coding. Huh. All right. Now, just do this. So where was I at? Response. Yeah, I don't get it. Before generate. See our model and our API key.
We're not working with a local model anymore. We're actually like calling out to Google servers, right? Boot dev stands out as a great place to learn backend development, blah, 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 right? So it worked.
Why is this not working? Client generate content. All right, there is something that is happening right now. I guess I have to check with my, let's ask GPT. So let's see. This is actually good news. Your code is now the SDK installed correct API call. The problem is your API key has no available quota. What do you mean? This is my first. Oh, the key line is that. Let's just comment this and print and run this. Mhm. Oh, the ChatGPT is saying the problem, the remaining problem is the Google project slash quota associated with that key. What do you mean? This is my, yes, this is my first. This is my first brand new key. The brand new key, you're still getting this, but the problem is not if Google project behind the key as your, make sure that key was created in Google. Yeah, I guess it is created in Google ASP, right? Hmm. Default Gemini project. Mm, I don't even give a fuck now. Oh, do I have to set up billing? Your billing tier will instantly change from free to tier 1 as pay as you go. No, for free credit. It won't give you free premium access. Well, oh shit. I've pasted in some other. This is what happening. This is what happened. I can see limit 0. What do you mean limit 0? I guess I'll just continue. do you mean org name? What is an org? None? Add payment method. What should I have to do that? I have no idea, bro. Why need to give my payment details for this? Let me try to run this again. I'll just see what. Not with that. How to run this again? Am I using the resources exhausted? Let me make another key, bro. Someone else hitting my route, hitting my create a new project, or else let me just create a new project has been created. I have copied the key now. Made another key. Should I add someone else's key? Is there a tweet here for that? Should I just hit up Groks? I've heard key Grok. No, do not use someone else's key. I what I'm some other free tier API key. Yeah, I guess I can just hit Grok API key. What is McLaren with Grok, bro? Grok console. Let's go to that. 32. Google, bro. Why is this keep falling? Okay. Alright guys, I have switched. Now I'm gonna use Grok's API key. That's it. This is right. I need to install Grok, right? Now we install Grok. Ah, group नहीं भाई, Grok. Do PIP install Grok. Add Grok. Alright. Done. We pip install Grok. Thing not working. I have no idea, bro. Let's watch a YouTube video to see how the API works.
Want to use the Google Gemini API in your automation and AI agents without? First, head over to aistudio.google.com and sign in with your Google account. If you're using this platform for the first time, you'll be asked to accept the terms of service. You can also choose to receive model updates and offers by ticking the checkbox. Then, click I accept. Next, tap on the Get API Key icon and select Create API Key.
Get API key, create API key. Import a project.
Wait a few seconds, and here we go. Your API key is ready. Simply copy it and use it wherever needed. If you ever want to delete it, use the delete option. You can also generate a new key using the same steps. Alright, you've got the key, but how much can you actually use it before Google says that's enough? Let me quickly break down the rate limits and free usage tiers. Just head to the link I'll provide in the video description. Here, you can check which models are available under the free tier. For example, Gemini 2.5 Flash is included, a great model for reasoning tasks. Next, there's Gemini 2.5 Flash Lite Preview. You might also see some models marked as not available. That means they aren't included in the free plan. You'll also find Gemini 2.0 Flash, which is another excellent option. And there are many more available that you can explore by visiting the link. Now, let's check the rate limit.
Why is this so difficult or different for me? Do I have to? Right. What is this project? All right, I have it is this key. Last time, bro. This me. Then we delete this again. I'll wait until the thing runs. Yeah. But why didn't it print this? Alright. Model is temporary. Alright, let's use some other model, bro. Anything. I would love to use anything at this point. Please. Alright. Yeah. Some kind of response I need. Alright. Let's go. In summary, whatever the fuck that is. So let's fuck off. What is functional programming in 10 lines? Let's say. And I'm gonna run this again. The paradigm often leans to more constraints, maintainable, scalable code languages, Haskell, Lisp, Scala, and modern JavaScript use utilize FP principles. All right. Thank God we're getting in that in 10 lines. Functions and immutability. Pure functions always produce the same output, but they have no side effects. Side effects including modifying external states, performing IO on string. Exceptions. Immutability means data once created cannot be changed. New data is created instead. This approach reduces bugs and makes code easier to reason about and test. Alright, makes sense, whatever, whatever. Alright. Thank God. The problem was the model, and I don't know why ChatGPT was not helping me at that. Hopefully, clear my doubt. I'll be right back. I'll get something to drink. God, we are getting responses from. Bro, I just spent like an hour just trying to figure out what model I should be using. This guy has kind of led me off to the wrong direction.
Cool. We got a response from our LLM. Okay. In addition to printing the text response, print the number of tokens consumed by the interaction, right? So this is important. Again, we are staying on the free tier here, but whenever you're working with one of these APIs, you want to be very aware of how many tokens you're using, because the cost can become really expensive. Okay, so let's go ahead and print that. So print, what are we doing? Prompt tokens. And then we're going to use an F string, so we can do a dynamic value here. And then we'll do response tokens. Response has a .usage metadata property, so response .usage metadata dot, we want prompt token count. And then we've also got a candidates token count. So this should print us how many
Say token here. Good morning, you two. All right, we are getting responses. The response token is 7. Okay, that makes sense. And also, one thing I fucking hate is I'm not getting the prompt in appropriate prompt. Print response dot usage data dot. Okay, the prompt was like 7 tokens. Right? Candidate can per prompt. All right. Let's just do this too. How can I help you? Today at 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I don't know. Yeah, it is somehow response token. This is actually prompt token. Prompt token. What is that line? Oh, is it like shift out? Yeah. Tokens. You know, this and copy paste. Just
tokens are in the prompt versus how many tokens are in the response. And then this is yelling at me because prompt token count is not a known attribute of none. So I think that's because usage metadata can be none. So I think we need some kind of like guard clause here. So like if response I think is none, or response dot usage metadata is none, return, right?
One thing that I'm not getting. Right, these are all the
In fact, return is bad because we're in the main function. So we'll do something like, we should have a main function actually. Let's do this. Func main, not func. Am I writing Go code? Define main. Main, not. We should have a main function actually. Let's do this. Func main, not func. Am I writing Go code? Define main. And we'll throw all of that into the main function. And then down here at the bottom, we'll just call main. Okay. So we can bail early, and I'll even print some sort of, response doesn't. Response is malformed. Okay. Let's try again. Cool. Now we can see prompt tokens 25. That sounds about right, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And remember, a token is smaller than a word. We have some big words in here, so 25 seems reasonable. This was our response. 92 seems reasonable. I think we've got it right. Okay. In addition to the text response, okay, everything's printing correctly. Let's grab our check and run it. Oops.
I see you're interested in learning about Postgres. Why not learn from me, Dr. Chuck?
Try again. Expected standard out to contain prompt tokens 19. Ooh, and I got 25. What did I screw up? Was I supposed to use a different prompt? Oh, I added all this white space, I think is the problem. White space counts as tokens. Okay. Let's try that. There we go. There we go. Okay. On to the next one. Okay, we've hard-coded the prompt that goes into Gemini, which is not particularly useful, right? We've just kind of slapped it here in our code. Let's update our code to accept the prompt as a command line argument. Very good. Because we don't want our users that are using our AI agent to like have to update the code of the agent in order to use it. Like that's pretty crazy, right? We want people to be able to type uv run main.py and then give it this dynamic prompt in the CLI. Okay. So how do we do this? First, we have a sys.argv variable. It's a list of strings representing all the command line arguments passed to the script. So let's go ahead and grab that. What if we just print sys.argv? We just say args. And what happens if I just run that? I shouldn't run it that way. I should just do uv run main.py. Oh, it's yelling at me. Name sys is not defined. Right. Import sys. Try again. Okay, right there we can see args right now is just main.py. So actually the first item in the list is just the name of the file that we're running, which is basically always going to be main.py. So if we want other arguments, let's try that. This is arg1. Okay, cool. You can see right here, we've got the first one main.py, and then the second one is what we actually passed in. So if we want to ensure that the user passed in an argument, we could do something like if length of sys.argv is less than 2, then we can print, I need a prompt, and return. Otherwise, we should know that the prompt is sys.argv at index 1, right? The second thing. And then we can just take that prompt and slap it in to the model. Oh, if the prompt is not provided, print an error message and exit the program with code 1. I think that is, I don't remember how to do this. Is it sys.exit 1? In which case I don't need to return because that's going to crash the whole program. Well, not crash, but it's going to exit with code 1.
Make sure that you have installed and working. How do I do it? Let's see that. Okay, I have to. Okay, alright. Can I just go to the next one? Build an agent to Python setup. I have done that. For token and metadata. When using any LLM API, it is important to how many tokens you are consuming. All right, that makes sense. The generate underscore contest response submodule Google Gen AI is DK documentation में the generate underscore content response object returns the object returned by the Gemini API includes a usage underscore metadata property. Usage and transient as a both a prompt count and a candidate token count property, showing the number of tokens in the model in the model in the model's response. Let's make sure that we can keep track of both of them. All right. Let's go to the next one. User input. Now this is where I am. We have hard coded the prompts that goes into Gemini, which is not very useful. Let us update our code to accept the prompt as a command line argument. As a command line argument. Okay. It directly has to get into the command line argument, right? Okay, that makes sense. Assignment. We'll put our Python's inbuilt arg parse module to handle command line arguments. Start by importing that. Parse works. We create a parser object. They create a parser object. They find that we provide when they okay. Our first is when we create a parser object.
which means we'll terminate here. Now let's try.
Publish this. Yes. Let us just print ignore this. Paste this right here. Our is not defined. How do we import after? Let's go to the docs. Our module, make it easy. Okay, the program defines what how do we tutorial? Alright, let's tutorial in the simple introduction of first the recommended command and passing module in Python standard library concept. Let's show the sort of functionality that here we are gonna explore in the introduction ls and import our file. Let us start with a very simple example which does almost nothing. Import our pass. All right, we have to do that. Makes sense. Import that and now let's just run this shit. Delete both of these. Add a new terminal and wait a second. We'll give time for the environment variables to load, and after that, all right, do this. Hello, how can I help you? You know what? Let's just say dot argument parser. Program. What is pro? The name of the program. What is it supposed to do there? Built-in tool for creating command line interfaces. All right, it handles everything from parsing the arguments passed into your script, automatically generating help and usage messages. Here is a complete step-by-step on how to use it. The four-step standard setup. Every arc parse implementation have follows the basic workflow. Import the module, bring in arc parse, create the parser, initialize an argument parser object, add arguments, define the flags and parameters you want the script to accept. Also parse the argument, then parse underscore args to turn this command line inputs into Python objects. All right, that makes sense. You have four steps. Import the module. Of course, I did that. And create the parser. Parser is equal to argparse dot argument parser description, a simple script to greet a user. Let's say add arguments like position argument, parser dot add argument name, the name of the person, greet. Optional argument required by default, and optional argument is start with or. Parser dot add argument We have two types of arguments. What does that mean? To say negative, negative, L. Copy and paste this.
Try this again. What color is the sky? Answer in one word. We just got back blue. Prompt tokens 10, response token 2. So you can see we've kind of built just like a little mini chat GPT in our terminal. That's rude. Try this is, don't remember how to provided print an right? We want people to be able to type uv run main.py and then give it this dynamic prompt in the CLI. Okay, so how do we do this? First, we have a sys.argv variable. It's a list of strings representing all the command line arguments passed to the script. So let's go ahead and grab that. What if we just print sys.argv? We just say args. And what happens if I just run that? I shouldn't run it that way. I should just do uv run main.py. Oh, it's yelling at me. Name sys is not defined. Right. Import sys. Try again. Okay. Right there we can see args right now is just main.py. So actually the first item in the list is just the name of the file that we're running, which is basically always going to be main.py. So if we want other arguments, let's try that. This is arg1. Okay, cool. You can see right here, 1. Let's try that. So if we want other arguments, let's try that. This is arg1. Okay, cool. You can see right here, we've got the first one, main.py, and then the second one is what we actually passed in. So if we want to ensure that the user passed in an argument, we could do something like if length of sys.argv is less than 2, then we can print, I need a prompt, and return. Otherwise, we should know that the prompt is sys.argv at index 1, right? The second thing. And then we can just take that.
So if I were to say, if I were to run this again, it's gonna give me the name of right now I get it. Oh, this is not really that difficult. I mean, I didn't really have to go through and learn all of that. Sys dot v greater than 2 print give me a prompt. Else you have to when you call this
That prompt at index 1.
prompt is okay, that is or else the prompt becomes this dot arc at the index 1. Right, that makes sense. If I were to say something like all right, now that I've done that, let me just do this and CROM prompt. All right, why is Hulk green? 1 10. This dot argv greater. Okay, that is not cause I have to wait for the length of this dot argv. All right, that makes sense. Argv. Do you mean argv? Yeah, I did mean that. Okay. Let's see. Oh shit. I just used 32 of my tokens. I should have done that in 10 words. It's something I should. The help is being in the gamma radiation experiment gone wrong with mirrored body gave his iconic emerald hue and immense strength. Alright.
Right, the second thing. And then we can just take that prompt and slap it in to the model. Oh, if the prompt is not provided, print an error message and exit the program with code 1. I think that is, do you remember how to do this? Is it sys.exit 1? In which case I don't need to return because that's going to crash the whole program. Well, not crash, but it's going to exit with code 1, which means we'll terminate here. Now let's try this again. What color is the sky? And
After exiting, I need to do something.
answer in 1 word. We just got back blue. Prompt tokens 10, response token 2. So you can see we've kind of built just like a little mini chat GPT in our terminal. That's rude because we're using Google's model. We've built a little Gemini UI in our terminal. And let's just do one more to make sure things are working. What is 10 plus 5? I know LLMs are notoriously bad at math, but answer in a single.
And also, let me just see where I'm doing this for. This, right? So I didn't do that.
token. See how that works. 15. Very good. Let's run our checks.
Ready to feel the difference in the way you work with multiple databases? Data Grip, a powerful cross-platform tool for relational and NoSQL databases.
Perfect. Okay, messages. LLMs aren't typically used in a one-shot manner. Again, LLM APIs aren't typically used in a one-shot manner. I mean, that's not entirely true. You can use an LLM API in a one-shot manner. Like there are, I would consider them to be kind of niche use cases. But even if you're just building a chat app, so not even an agent, but just a chat app, at that point you already are not using it one shot because you need to keep track of the context of the conversation as it's happening.
ఇప్పుడు కూడా ఉందా వాయిస్ క్యూ? హలో హలో హలో
Right? So yeah, they work the same way in a conversation. The conversation has a history, and when we're using the API, we actually need to keep track of that history. When you're talking to ChatGPT, it remembers the things that you said before, but when we're using the API, if we just discard old responses and don't give them back to the model in our generate content function, then it doesn't have any knowledge of the past conversation. Okay. So importantly, each message in a conversation with an LLM has a role. And so far, we've just been using kind of the default user, that's us, and model roles. So, right, this is the request and the response. There are a couple other roles that we'll talk about later, but for now, it's like we'll just keep track of user and model. And again, the conversation with a chatbot is basically just an array or a list of messages that alternate user model, user model, user model, right? So that's what we're building.
Oh, the context of an ad adjective context yes all right. So while our program will be one shot for now, let us update our code. Register message by the constant tracking of type dot contact content.
Building for now. So while with a chatbot is basically just an array or a list of messages that alternate user model, user model, user model, right? So that's what we're building for now. So while our program will still be one shot for now, let's update our code to at least store a list of messages in the conversation and pass in the role appropriately. Okay, so that's what we're doing in this step. Create a new list of types.content and set the only message for now as the user's input. Okay, so this package here, Google Gen AI import types, this types package is type information, type hinting kind of objects for the Gemini API. All right, and then we're going to create this messages array or messages list, and we should start it right here. And we're going to start it with the prompt. Now, instead of passing in just a string as the contents, we're going to pass in all the messages, right? Which for now is just one message inside of a list, where the role is set to user. And then later what we're going to do is we're going to actually append future messages to the list. But for now, we want to just make sure that this works. So let's go ahead and let's just run what's 10 plus 5 again. All we're hoping for here is that we didn't break it. It looks like we didn't break it. So that's good. And let's answer, oh, it's a question. On this one. When you're done, answer the question. Okay. Why do we need to store the user's prompt in a list? Because lists are better than strings? Not necessarily. Because later we're going to use it to keep track of the conversation. Yep. All right. Verbose. As you debug and build your AI agent, you'll probably want to now is just one message and set the only message for now as the user's input. Okay. So this package here, Google Gen AI import types. This types package is type information, type hinting kind of objects for the Gemini API. All right, and then we're going to create this messages array or messages list, and we should start it right here. And we're going to start it with the prompt. Now, instead of passing in just a string as the contents, we're going to pass in all the messages, right? Which for now is just one message, all the messages, just a string. Start it right here. And we're going to start it with this array or messages list, and we should start it right here. And we're going to start it with the prompt. Now, instead of passing in just a string as the contents, we're going to pass in all the messages, right? Which for now is just one message inside of a list, where the
Content. There is I took there is category. What is text dot content? Okay, that represents one message of the all right. Types got content. You have a role similar to role. Content. Okay. OpenAI style API. Oh, in OpenAI you just have it as a JSON. I don't know why these guys are like putting it on a for call. Just take. I couldn't even get it, bro. Types got content. This role is that. All right, makes sense. Why use parts? Because Gemini API supports multimodal content. For example, types.part, one message can contain both text and also images. Oh, that is the thing. So types.part makes sense. Role is that. If prompt is hello, okay, that is types.content. You have role, you have parts, and parts is in a list. Types.part. Okay. Oh my god, what is this roughly equivalent to? It's a list of dictionary which has also other list of dictionary inside it. A dictionary of this. Makes sense. Can you hear me right now? There is an audio issue that I can't really. No, there isn't. Is there?
The role is set to user. And then later what we're going to do is we're going to actually append future messages to the list. But for now, we want to just make sure that this works. So let's go ahead and let's just run what's 10 plus 5 again. All we're hoping for here is that we didn't break it. It looks like we didn't break it. So that's good. And let's answer. Oh, it's a question on this one. When you're done, answer the question. Okay. Why do we need to store the user's prompt in a list? Because lists are better than strings? Not necessarily. Because later we're going to use it to keep track of the conversation. Yep. All right. Verbose. As you debug and build your AI agent, you'll probably want to dump a lot more context into the console. But at the same time, we don't want to make the user experience of our CLI too noisy. So we're going to add a flag, a -- verbose flag that allows us to toggle verbose output on and off, right? This is kind of the user experience that we want to ship to our users, where they just type in a prompt into the CLI and then they get back an answer. But we as developers are going to want a lot more information. Like you could even argue that this stuff, prompts tokens and response tokens, this is stuff that the user probably doesn't need, but that we as developers want to be aware of as we're building the agent. So add a new command line argument, -- verbose. It should be supplied after the prompt, if at all, right? So it's an optional flag. If the verbose flag is included, the console output should include the user's prompt, the number of tokens, and the number of response tokens on each iteration. Otherwise, it should not print those things. Okay, how do we get a flag in Python, right? Well, assuming it's always going to be after the prompt, this is actually really easy. we can just say, let me just copy this. If the length of sys.argv is less than 3, or I should say if it equals 3, then we can set verbose to true. So verbose is going to default to false. Let's call it verbose flag. But if it equals 3, and I guess we should say and sys.argv at index 2 equals dash dash verbose, then we can set the verbose flag to true. Cool. Then down here, it looks like we don't want to print this stuff all the time anymore. Instead, we want to check if verbose flag. Then we're going to print the prompt's tokens, but we're also going to print the user's prompt. So we just need one more here. We're going to say user prompt and prompt. Okay, so let's give that a shot. First, we'll just run it again without.
I'll be right back.
verbose. Now we should know. Oh, what did I screw up? No colon. That's what I screwed up. Okay.
I will continue this in the next stream. I mean, I thought I would just complete this, but in 2 or 10 minutes, would just see 32 minutes of the video. Hopefully, I will, work on this a little later too.